Welcome to another episode of the Layman's Guide to the World Cup. My name's Henry, and whoa, what a week one of the World Cup. I know technically Thursday will be a week, but just how schedule works, Tuesday is when we'll be filming this every week. But what a week. We are 16 games down, and it's been really interesting. I can throw half my predictions out the window. I am very surprised in a good way, because I think what makes the World Cup the best is when surprises happen and everything gets thrown out the window. When you have giant killers, you have teams playing above their pay grade, and you have giants that are lacking. So it's been very interesting. Some of the key games from the week, I think, if we start out with group, first of all, if you see my notes here, I took notes as watching games. I have a little spreadsheet of things, taking little notes, just so, it makes it easier on me. I think the Mexico game against South Africa was 2-0. There was 3 red cards, but at least the host opened. It wasn't the most impressive performance by Mexico, so it'll be interesting what else they do. South Africa, because really, I think the bigger story of that game is South Africa. Where were you? The more interesting game in the group was the Korea and Czechia game, which Korea won 2-1. And in this game, Korea was really showing how they will cut your team apart and figure out how they're going to get through. The first half was kind of really stalemated, but once the second half opened, that's when everything started to happen. And the other thing is, don't underestimate Czechia. They're going to be a hard-nosed team, and they're good at set pieces. They have a player that literally can throw, if this is the sideline here, he can throw the ball halfway on a throw-in. And that's a set piece for them. That's how they scored one of their goals. It was literally off of a header. The guy threw it and one of their other players headed in. So, awesome. So, I think both those teams are going to be teams to watch, and they will be the test with Mexico. Canada, I think, underperformed as a host. They got a 1-1 with Bosnia. Bosnia really, at the beginning of the game, was really pushing them hard. So, hopefully that's just a warm-up for Canada. But really, the team that performed the best out of the 3 hosts was the United States. Not to brag, but we beat Paraguay 4-1. And you may be wondering, well, it sounds like Paraguay's not a great of a team. No, here's the thing. Paraguay are a good team. In the last 18 national team games that they've played in, they've only let in 10 goals. This includes that they beat Argentina, they beat Brazil, they beat Uruguay. So this isn't like some weak team. They're a highly defensive team, and if they lose by like 1 goal. But here we go. That first half we scored 3 goals, and then they went rough and tumble in the second half, and we scored 1 at the very last minute. But they were, we were tearing them apart. It's the most dominant I've ever seen the U.S. play in a World Cup. So I'm excited. Was this a fluke, or we're going to see with Australia if it wasn't? So I'm excited. It's really rejuvenated me as a U.S. fan. And also, what's interesting of this group is that Australia beat Turkey 2-0. I did not see that coming at all. Turkey is supposed to be the clear favorite in this group to win. At least that's how the pundits are. But Australia made them look bad. Like, Australia is relatively dominant in this game. So it also gives me hope for like when the U.S. play, and that Turkey's not going to be that strong of a team. We see that Switzerland tied Qatar, and you're just like, Swiss, what are y'all doing? And then Brazil and Morocco 1-1. But this was an interesting tell of a game, because Brazil didn't play all they could be, and Morocco looked really good. It was a fun game. It was a fun game to watch. Myself, I watched this. I was at dinner with my in-laws, and we were at BJ's, and they had the games on the screen, and there was a lot of Brazilians there. So it was quite loud, quite exciting. We didn't intend to watch the game there, but it just so happened because it was on. So it was a really fun game, very attack-oriented game. And Morocco is showing that they are not a one-time World Cup fluke. They are actually a team that's good. So I'm happy to see more of that. Then we saw Haiti and Scotland. Scotland won 1-0. And I think this game really showed that Haiti is not going to be a punching bag. So we'll see what that looks like when they face Morocco and they face Brazil, or there's going to be low-scoring games instead of blowouts like we have in this next one. This is the first real blowout of the World Cup, and that is Germany and Curacao, which Germany won 7-1. And Germany looked deadly. So I think for me, that's raised the bar a little bit of my expectations of the Germans. But then my favorite match of this whole round, even though I'm a big U.S. fan, was actually this Netherlands-Japan game. It was a lot of fun. It was back and forth goals. It was good soccer. It was really good soccer of two teams fighting each other. So for me, that's what you want soccer to be. Then a big surprise, Sweden beat Tunisia 5-1. I know I said in my preview that this Swedish attack is going to be good. I didn't know they were going to be this good. Tunisia, they didn't let in a goal in their World Cup qualifying in Africa. And here they go. They get destroyed 5-1. Like, the Confederation's response to this is they fired their coach the following morning. So Tunisia are figuring out and hiring a new coach in the middle of World Cup, which is crazy. Crazy. So I'm super excited to see what the Swedish attack can do. All the goals were exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of Sweden. And they may do better in this group than I expected. Remember, they're in the group with the Netherlands and Japan. Then you have Spain and Cape Verde. Dude, Cape Verde's goalkeeper, man, 40 years old, playing in second division. I forget where, but I think like Turkey. And dude, this guy had the game of his life. 0-0. Spain could not score. He had 7 saves, and they were good saves. And like how much it meant to this man at the end of the game, he just got down and started crying. Like joyous celebration. Like, I'm so happy for Cape Verde. This is the kind of stories you love when it comes to the World Cup. It's something so beautiful. So, then you have Belgium versus Egypt. That was a good game. It was 1-1, and it was a back and forth and kind of just figuring each other out. Saudi Arabia and Uruguay was 1-1, and then a surprisingly really good game was Iran and New Zealand, which I watched last night, at 2-2. And what's going on with New Zealand? They're playing really well. Specifically, Chris Wood's kind of their attacking tower, their striker. He's the one that plays for Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. So, really good. It was a very surprising game. So that's kind of all the games of the first round. If I have to give 2 picks, if you want to go watch a replay, which you can do it on Fox 1 or Peacock, it's got to be either Netherlands, Japan, or United States, Paraguay. Both were really exciting games, and I'm looking forward to all, United States, Japan, and Netherlands, all of their next games. I think they're going to be a lot of fun. Specifically, as a U.S. fan, you should be highly encouraged by what this team did in this first round. We're going to be meeting in Australia that was dominant against Paraguay, or against Turkey. So I think that's going to be a very good game, very interesting game. But this team, like Flo Balogun, man, he's our starting striker for a reason. We've never had a striker as good as him for the United States. Because, like, we'd shove Dempsey in that position, but really Dempsey's not a striker, an out-and-out striker. But Balogun is the real deal. And a lot of our players were playing their A game, which I'm so thankful for. Like, we started this tournament well, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that transpires as we go through. If you did notice, Pulisic got taken off halfway through. There's a little bit of a knock on his calf, and they're reporting that he's going to be okay for the Friday game. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't start, but he'll come in the second half. But him with Balogun played a wonderful game, so I'm really curious. I imagine the lineup won't change unless they want to be a little protective of Pulisic and not start him and have him come in the second half and start someone over him like a Zendaya Haas or a Weah, or move Weston up into that position. I don't know what they're going to plan on doing. I could see them protecting him, at least for this game, than having him, for on paper, should be the greater challenge with Turkey. So we'll see. The other big story is South American teams. I was singing their praise, in the previews, that they are the most dominant confederation, but they're not playing too hot here. Paraguay lost 4-1. Brazil tied 1-1. And then you also have Uruguay tied 1-1. I think I'm missing someone. Who am I missing? Yeah, I think that's it. But no one's doing. Oh, Ecuador lost to the Ivory Coast 1-0. So they have not won a game. South America. Hopefully they can adapt for the next game. Like Argentina lost their first game in the last World Cup, so to Saudi Arabia. So and they won the whole thing. So things can happen. Hopefully they get their act together. Europeans also haven't been as dominant as we thought they would be. So really, it's been a game of basically North America. Well, Mexico, U.S. playing well, and the Asian countries and African countries playing well, or playing above their weight. So we'll see what happens as we go into the second round of these group stage games, which I will start with Thursday. But I want to give you all some games that I think are going to be really good this week. If you're watching this now, you're probably missing it. But France-Senegal is today, here on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. So by the time this is up, it's either, I think, in the middle of the game. But either way, you have dark horse and favorite facing each other right then and there. And then also in the first round, two favorites out of the gate on Wednesday, tomorrow. England versus Croatia. It's going to be a lovely game. And I feel like the English have not caught a break since being in the United States. There is a shooting outside their training ground. Their stuff got stolen out of their locker rooms. They all got sunburnt relatively early. And they've also been in Kansas City, a shelter in place because of a tornado. So it's the British aren't doing too great on American soil. So we'll see with them. Hopefully they'll, mentally they can be there and do well. The next one is on Thursday, which this will be the first of the second round of the group stage games, and that is Mexico versus Korea. I think this will be telling for Mexico. Are they good, or is South Africa really weak? And then Korea, can they win this group? Because they looked really good. And, so these, beforehand I was thinking Mexico and Korea were the two fighting for first place. So we'll see what happens here. And then on Friday at 2 o'clock, we get good old US of A versus Australia. Which, like I said, both these teams had good first games. So I think that's going to translate to a very good game, very competitive game. And I wouldn't be surprised if this game doesn't get settled until the second half. Like, it could be like a 1-1 first half, and then it's really the first team to score that second goal. And I could be completely wrong. The U.S. shows another dominant showing like they did with Paraguay. Who knows? Or Australia. For some reason, Australia just hits another gear when they come to the World Cup and fight above their weight. So we'll see. And then after their performance of the first round, I'm really excited for this game. That's going to be Netherlands-Sweden, which is going to be here in Houston. So if you want to go to FanFest or you want to be a part of the Orange March, this is the game to do it. It'll be on Saturday. And, so I'm really excited to see this complete Dutch team versus the Swedish attack and see what happens there. Then you have Germany versus Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast had a really good showing against Ecuador, who I thought was going to go second in this group. So now I think Ivory Coast can pull off the second, but they got to get through Germany. So this will be the first really good opponent for Germany. So I think it's going to be a good game for them. And then on Sunday, we have Uruguay and Cape Verde. The reason why I highlight this game is I want to see with Cape Verde, was that first game against Spain a fluke, or are these guys the vibe team for the World Cup that we should follow, we should all celebrate. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens there. And then on Monday, we have Argentina versus Austria, which I think is going to be a very good game as well. I'm very curious how this Austria team, can they show up against the big heavyweights. And on Monday is also the battle of the dark horses. This is Norway versus Senegal, which I think is going to be a very, very, very good game. And very attacking oriented. Totally see this game being a game of a lot of goals. And then my final for Tuesday, England versus Ghana. Should be a very good game. So we'll see if Ghana can take advantage of the heat and defeat England. We'll see. So this World Cup, I think, especially if you've been watching, or looking at all like social media posts and everything like that, this World Cup has been better than a lot of people. There's a lot of naysayers going into this World Cup, but it's been really cool seeing all these foreigners experiencing American culture and loving it. So that's been a joy for me as an American watching that, because I feel like sometimes our own culture gets destroyed and criticized, but really there's a lot of good stuff to America, especially down here in Texas, where our hospitality and loving on people, and where us Americans are really good at small talk and having conversation, being welcoming to people. So I'm looking forward to seeing more and more people experience our nation. And also it's been a low scoring World Cup, but it's also left a lot of these groups wide open. So I'm excited to see, are we going to get some weird teams come through in the next round, and we're going to see some teams that have failed out. Like, is Turkey not going to move on? Is one good example there. So it's a lot of fun. I love World Cup. This is why I love the World Cup. It's always an exciting time for some really good soccer and so much unpredictability, because there's just something in the air. So I hope to see you next Tuesday. Enjoy some games. I hope you watch more than just the U.S. game, because like I said, there's a lot of good soccer on. And I gave y'all some examples to watch. If you have cable, just a little pro tip, I'm using my parents' cable, but you can use your cable login if you have the sports package, I think, and you get Fox 1 with your cable package. You just log in with your cable's account and you'll get in. So if you want to watch games on the go, also if you have Peacock, you can watch it in Spanish. So if you just want to watch the games and really commentary doesn't matter too much for you, or it might be more exciting because Spanish commentary is a little more exciting. Either or, you can do those types of things. Just giving you a heads up. Because we're in the Houston area, if you do have Xfinity, you get a free ads tier of Peacock. So just throwing that out there too. If you've never claimed that before, it's a way you can watch some games on the go, because I know everyone's not at home. So, and I think also Fox One, if you don't have cable or anything like that, I think it's just $20 a month, which I think would be worth it if you plan on watching a lot of games. So it's up to you what you want to do. I just wanted to share those little things I've learned as I've watched games this week. All right, well, I'll see you next time. I've been Henry.